Broadcasts of the City of Neenah Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin-Fox Valley. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents via the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues or about these broadcasts by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or by completing the electronic feedback form on the city website, www.neenahgov.org. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.
I would like to call to order the meeting of the Neenah Common Council for Wednesday, June 19th, 2019. The first order of business will be the roll call. Members will answer the clerk as your name is called and sign in on the machine, please.
Alderman Boyette.
Here.
Bates.
Here.
Lang.
Here.
Lendrum.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Bellman.
Here.
Steele.
Here.
Coons.
Here.
Stevens.
Here.
All members are present. There's a quorum present. Please stand if you'd like and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic that stands one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, thank you all for coming. We have a fairly heavy agenda tonight. We have the capital improvements program for the city for the next 5 years, 5-year plan. We also have a couple other public hearings. We have a special guest tonight who's going to take a few minutes to introduce himself and talk to us a little bit about the restructuring of the UW system and quite a few other agenda items. So we could be here for a while. So with that, I would like to invite Chancellor Lovett from the university here to say hello and tell us a little bit about what's going on and with the restructuring and how it's going to impact our constituents here.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I really do appreciate this opportunity to be here tonight. My name is Andy Levitt, and I'm the Chancellor of the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. I'm in my 5th year, and as a matter of fact, still people still refer to me as the new Chancellor, and I don't know how long you have to be there before you're not the new Chancellor, but I'm happy to be there. In November of 17, the Board of Regents made a decision to dissolve the UW colleges, which was a system of the 13 two-year campuses from across the state. They then assigned the campuses themselves to local 4-year institutions. The reason why this was done was because there's been a pretty dramatic decrease in enrollment on those campuses, primarily because of the declining demographics in the state. There are fewer 18-year-olds today than there were 5 years ago, and also a very, very hot economy. We were worried about preserving quality and preserving excellence. And so this decision was made, and UW-Oshkosh was fortunate to bring or restructure with UW-Fond du Lac and UW-Fox Valley. So we've made a very nice compact, let me get to the next slide here, a very nice compact university. It's about an hour's drive from Fox down to Fond du Lac, and so we're in terms of the other joinings, we're pretty compact. So you can see we have the 3 campuses, and as a result of bringing the 3 campuses together, we now have over 16,000 students associated with UW-Oshkosh. So it's a large university. Spread over the 3 campuses. So it's something that we're very proud of. This is a very inclusive process we've been undertaking for the last almost 2 years now. We've had we've had some implementation committees. We had 39 different work groups that came together from all the campuses in order to work through all of this. So it's been, I think, a very inclusive process. And as a result, I think that of all the joinings across the state, I think ours is the best and the strongest. Though I'm sure all the other chancellors say the same thing. But I do believe ours is because of the way that we built it from the ground up. with including everybody. This was a picture of our implementation advisory board, which was made up of citizens and the county executives of all 3 counties involved in this. We did a marketing study because we needed to name the campuses. So they were not going to carry the UW Fox Valley, UW Fond du Lac markers anymore. They are a part of UW Oshkosh. Questions, how do we do that? So we did a marketing study, and we really took our time. We got a lot of public input. Over 1,000 people were interviewed in this. And we learned a few things. The Fox Valley and Fond du Lac campus students perceived the value of their experience centered on the benefits of access. What does that mean? That means they're going to pay the same tuition they've always paid. They're going to pay much lower fees. And they're going to get a guaranteed admissions into 2-year with a guaranteed transfer once they finish their 2-year degree. Oshkosh students were really fixated on the idea of city and the campus combination in Oshkosh. And so we thought this was a very important thing in terms of our identity and branding, which I'll just jump to the chase because I know I want to wrap up here very quickly here. We've developed what we call letter marks, which are going to be companions with the word mark that we have for the institution. And here they are. So a couple of things that you're going to notice is that we're going to use the acronym to a much greater extent than we have in recent years. And a big part for this particular community, Fox Valley has been renamed Fox Cities. It's going to be UWO Fox Cities, the Fox Cities campus of UWO. We felt that was important because there's a lot of confusion out there about Fox Valley Technical College. As a matter of fact, I would say half of the people thought we were merging with Fox Valley Technical College. And so once and for all, we wanted to put that to rest. So we've come up with these, I think, very striking visual identities of each campus. The Fond du Lac, Fox Cities names are very, very prominent. You really have to look hard to see Oshkosh in these names because it'll say UWO. And these are going to be monikers which we're going to be proud to put on the buildings of these important campuses. So with that, I will end and ask if there are any questions I can address.
Thank you very much. And so these campuses, I just have a couple questions because I was intimately involved with UW Fox and a partnership with UW Platteville with engineering because Kimberly Clark, Plexus. Is that going to continue?
Absolutely. We just graduated 17 engineers this year from that program. So Platteville and UW Oshkosh have entered into an MOU to continue that program. And as a matter of fact, we're going to start a nursing program in Platteville that's going to be run by UW Oshkosh in the same model. So this is a great collaboration.
What are the ones that are going up and the ones that are fading? Is there a trend line? Nursing probably being one of them, but
yeah. So we have certainly a shortage of nurses. We have a shortage of IT professionals. We have a shortage of teachers, which we've had. The generation of teachers are now heading towards retirement. We just don't have enough students going into teaching, particularly secondary teaching, to fill the ranks. And so those are 3 very, very hot areas.
Any other questions for the Chancellor? We really appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your time and introducing yourself and come and talk to us. And as long as I know there's at least one UWO grad here, alumni. So if he's okay with it, I'm okay with it. Are you okay with this, Ted?
Talking about Mike Easker?
Oh, there's 2 for sure. If they're okay with the merger and everything.
We've received all the alumni. We've seen these 2-year alumni distribution of this, so very exciting.
Well, terrific.
Congratulations.
Good.
Hail Titans.
Good. Well, thank you very much for coming. I was on the building commission for many years, so I had my hand in a lot of your building projects on campus and the halls and all those types of things. So
thank you very much for your support.
Thanks. Yeah, that was a while ago. Thank you. Thanks for coming. All righty. Item number 2, introduction and confirmation of some mayor's appointments. Mayor Crawford's appointment of Melody Vanderkolk to fill the vacancy that's created by resolution number 2019-14, restructuring of the Sustainable Neenah Committee for a term to expire in December 2020, and Morgan Cottrell for a term to expire in December 2021. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the mayor's appointments.
Alderman Bates moves.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Ledrum to appoint those two individuals to the Sustainable Neenah Committee. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh,
I think
okay, I guess we're going to vote, so sorry about that. Use the voting machine then. Yeah, that's all right. You put it in, so that's fine. That motion passes 9-0. Thank you. Partly my fault. So, either one of those individuals here tonight? Either Melody or Morgan. Okay, they'll get take care of the swearing in and that with you. Okay. So there is no item B. So item number 3, approval of the council proceedings of June 5th, 2019 regular session and committee of the whole minutes of May 8th and June 3rd, 2019. Is there a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
There's a motion by Alderman Lendrum, seconded by Alderman Spellman. Okay. Spellman. Alderman Lendrum moves, seconded by Alderman Spellman. Is there any corrections, additions, comments, or discussion on these sets of minutes? Seeing none, is there ask unanimous consent to accept the council proceedings as stated? Unanimous consent without any objection? That's ordered. Item number 4. All right, we're going to do, yeah, that's fine. Item number 4. Item number 4 is public input sessions. We have 3 public hearings tonight, public input session / public hearings. The council president, I had some discussions about order in that, but we're going to go item number A at this point, and then item B, and then item C for the public hearings. Item number A is discussion and consideration of public input and other matters relating to the 2019-2023 Capital Improvements Program budget, including the potential amendments to the 2019 Capital Improvements Program budget. Is there any citizen here or anyone who'd like to address the council on the 2019 to 2023 Capital Improvement Program budget? Anyone? All right, seeing none. Last chance. I will close the public hearing on item number A, which will then take us to item number B. Consider a special use permit request by the Fox Valley Islamic Society to construct a mosque at 2680 Marathon Avenue, Neenah, Wisconsin. I will open the public hearing. And I should have probably said this before the last one. There are a few ground rules for any public hearing. We ask that you state your name and your address just for the record, so the clerk has it. This is a public body, and we need it for the public record. We ask that you try to limit your comments under 5 minutes, and we also ask that we be respectful. And if you have questions, we will be taking down some questions so that we can answer them later in the program by either a department head or one of the council members, and we'll try and get an answer for you. We know that there's been a lot of interest in this one. I understand through media, social media, that there may be a presentation of a petition. So first we're going to have a presentation, short presentation. That's the same way that we did the public hearing for the Planning Commission. This has already been done once. There was probably over 90 people here during the Planning Commission. Brad Schmidt, who's our Deputy Director of Community Development, will give a short presentation. And then I think we took about an hour and a half of testimony and questions and answers from the general public. I noticed in one of the social media posts it said 10 minutes. It was a lot longer than 10 minutes. So that's how we're going to do this. So to start off the public hearing, I would ask Brad Schmidt, who's our deputy director, to go through similar to what he did in the Planning Commission. It may answer some of your questions if you weren't here previously. Welcome, Brad.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is the same presentation that we did to Plan Commission. I did make several slight modifications, but for the most part, it's the same. As the Mayor mentioned, this is a request to construct a mosque by the Fox Valley Islamic Society. Their current location is about a quarter mile down the road on County Road G on Capel Street. The Islamic Society purchased this particular piece of land back in 2008 as Castle Oak subdivision was developing. The site is 7 acres in size and currently undeveloped. The proposal is to develop the front or the west portion of the property, which is approximately 3 acres. The remaining 4 acres would remain as is. This property is zoned R1 single-family residence districts. As with every zoning district we have in the city, there's a list of permitted uses and special uses. Permitted uses would be single-family residences. In R1 district, we have a number of special uses: religious institutions, schools, daycares, things of that nature. So really the point of the special use is to do really a site-specific review of that use in the surrounding neighborhood to determine how that use fits there and if there's anything that we can do with conditions to protect the neighborhood and to make this use work. That's kind of the purpose of the special use. So getting back to religious institutions, the majority of religious institutions in the city are located in R1 and R2 districts. So 13 out of 22, 60%. Just to give you kind of a sense of what the surrounding uses are here, to the north and west are single-family residences. Castle Oak Park is located to the south, as is a city stormwater pond. And then to the east is the town of Neenah and farmland. So the proposed development, as you can see on this aerial photo, is kind of superimposed on here to kind of give you a sense of scale, is roughly a building footprint of 7,700 square feet. The building is oriented in the way it is for the need of the religion to be oriented and to pray towards Mecca. Is in addition to the location of the building, there are 94 parking stalls, and that meets our minimum standards based on the occupancy of the building. As with any other development, we look at the need for landscaping, in this case buffer yard parking and frontage, and then the utilities that would serve the site and ensure that they are adequately sized. So in regards to landscaping, I won't get into too much detail as far as what is required, but the frontage is all the landscaping along Marathon Avenue. So as you can see, they are proposing 9 shade trees, 26 shrubs, and in addition to that, 3 berms, which range anywhere from 2 to 3 feet in height. So it does provide some buffer from the parking lot to the properties across the street. In addition, there's 4 islands located within the parking lot to provide additional landscaping. I think one of the things that we were most interested in is protecting the neighbors to the north. There is a buffer yard landscaping, and in this case it's a 6-foot cedar fence, which is site tight, and a number of evergreen trees and shade trees to provide additional buffer. The trees are also located on the south end, although there is no fence requirement because the park is there and there's no need to buffer from the park. And then finally, there's a trash enclosure on the southeast portion of the site that will be surrounded with the required 6-foot fence and evergreen trees. So looking at the building, here's the building elevations that you see on your screen. The wall height is 25 feet, peak height is 45 feet, and to the top of the minarets are 55 feet. The building's constructed of EFIS glass and colored block. Just from a setback perspective, and I'll get into this a little bit, the front setback along Marathon for the building is 193 feet. The side yard setback on the north end is 87 feet and 180 feet on the south. The front entrance to the building is located along Marathon Avenue. The total occupancy of the building is 360 people. I know there's some questions about that last time. There were some numbers about 510 going around. The total building occupancy is 360 people. If you do look at the site plan, there were showing some future additions. These are not part of this review. They are not being approved as part of this review or reviewed. Those would have to come back as part of an amendment to the special use, which would require proper notifications to the neighbors as well. This is just the east elevation or the rear of the building, just kind of get a different perspective. So some of the things I wanted to do since our last meeting was trying to give you sort of perspective of the scale, the mass of this building compared to another building, which is I think a lot of people are familiar with in this neighborhood. So on the screen you have the proposed mosque on the left and the Church of Latter-day Saints, which is located on Castle Oak Drive on the right. So just to try to give you a sense of height, the Church of Latter-day Saints has a total height up on top of the steeple of 65 feet, wall height of 15 feet, and a peak of 35. The building itself is 105 feet wide by 240 compared to the mosque, which is 88 feet wide by 89 feet deep. The building footprint for the Church of Latter-day Saints is 24,000 square feet compared to 7,760 for the mosque. So just to kind of give you a perspective on size, I think most people are familiar with this. So just, looking at a two-dimensional building elevation doesn't give you all the information. So hopefully this provides a little bit more insight of the building. In addition, going into the setbacks. So when we're talking setbacks for the mosque, we're talking 193 feet from Marathon Avenue. So in comparison, if you're familiar with the Church of Latter-day Saints, that's 50 feet. So this building is considerably set back, and in addition, it's 87 feet from the north property line, which is closest to the residences, as compared to 73 feet for the Church of Latter-day Saints. So again, just to kind of give you a little bit different perspective in a 3D model versus a two-dimensional drawing. Grading, I know there were some questions about grading. So with all new development in the city, we do require a grading and drainage plan. What we want to ensure is that the water on this site is retained on this site as opposed to draining into neighboring properties. So that grading plan that you see on the screen does do that. It has been reviewed by our engineering department. With all special uses, we review findings of fact. So as part of our zoning code, we do require that we kind of look through and approve special uses based on finding of fact. So as I mentioned previously, the majority of our religious institutions, churches, are in residential neighborhoods. And you can see the list here. The sites for these churches and other religious institutions range between 1/3 of an acre up to almost 10 acres. And the building footprint, again, ranges from about 8,500 square feet all the way up to 70,000 square feet with an average of nearly 22,000 square feet. So in comparison to what we currently have in the city, this is a smaller footprint on a very large site. There's been concerns about property values. We did a pretty quick analysis to review property sales over the last 5 years. So what you see on this map, and it's a little difficult to see, but the map on the left identifies all of the 13 religious institutions that are in R1 or R2 residential neighborhoods in the city that are similar to this. We also looked at all of the sales that happened over the last 5 years that are either directly adjacent to or across the street from any of these existing religious institutions. So what we ended up doing was taking the sale price of that property, dividing it by the assessed value of that property to get a ratio. So what we found is a ratio of 1.2, and this included 15 total sales. We compared that to all sales over the last 5 years and found a ratio of 1.13. So we're not necessarily suggesting that living close to a church or a religious institution is going to increase your value, but what we didn't see was the concern from, I think, a lot of people is that their properties would be depreciated. In addition, we looked again at the Church of Latter-day Saints just because of the proximity to this location, being within this neighborhood, and the site being very similar to this. There was some concerns about how this would affect development. So not only did we see the entire Southfield plat get developed, we also saw a new develop come in since then, the first edition of Southfield plat. All of the properties on the east side of Bruce Street, adjacent to the Church of Latter-day Saints, had recently been built and sold between a range of $288,000 and $426,000. So again, we're not really seeing the evidence that there's any negative impact to property values that are adjacent to churches or religious institutions. Just some other things in regards to findings of fact. The size, design, and materials are consistent and harmonious with the surrounding neighborhood. The setback, as I had mentioned previously, both from the west and the north property lines is considerable. As far as a need for this type of use, there are no other mosques in the city or within this area. The existing mosque, which is located down the road, is being proposed to be closed and relocated to this particular property. We did see a lot of questions with traffic. There is sufficient access to and from this site along County Highway G. The Marathon Avenue and County Highway G both have capacity and were designed to handle much more traffic than you currently see today. We did look at some traffic generation, so we looked at their existing use, and they provided some sort of peak times as far as what they typically see at their current facility. And right now they see anywhere from 10 to 35 cars, with 35 being the peak on Fridays from about 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. And then anywhere from 30 to 50 during Ramadan on Saturdays from 9 o'clock or 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock at night. So again, these are very minimal based on what their current membership is in their current facility. We also analyze what the potential traffic generation would be based on full capacity of the building. So we did analyze that. We found that there was really no significant difference between what this facility would generate on a peak basis versus that of a single-family residence if they were developed on this site. We analyzed roughly about 22 houses that could fit on this site if it were developed as single-family. So, and we could talk, if you have questions about traffic, again, our traffic engineer and our Department of Public Works can answer a lot of that, but we did do the analysis and don't feel that traffic is going to be an issue out here. And then finally, we reviewed the size of both water and sewer. The utilities, those are both adequate, and the stormwater facility, which is located to the southeast of this site, was built and designed in anticipation of development on this site, and specifically this type of development. So it is appropriately sized. And finally, on your screen is the recommendation that Plan Commission did give to Council tonight with the 3 conditions that are listed. So basically, any future changes, additions, expansions, anything that's different and more intense of what's on this proposed development would have to come back through the special use and Council approval process. As with all special uses, the applicant does have a year to obtain building permits. Otherwise, the special use permit can become null and void. And then finally, we did have some minor reviews or comments on the site plan that are going to be addressed as well. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, strictly with Brad, we're just going to take care of questions at this point. Okay, Alderman Bates.
Thank you, Mayor. A question about the capacity for the parking lot, the 90 spaces. Is that the capacity of the building? I received an email about the difference between men's numbers and the women's numbers and adding them together. I wouldn't put in the children because they're not going to be driving, but is that...
In a conversation with the architect who's submitting the building plans to the state, they're basing their total occupant load of the building based on building code of 360 people. So I know there's been some talk about what was in a brochure that talked about 360 and 150. We're analyzing it based on 360 because that's what they're legally allowed to have.
So it's like a fire code that you can only have so many people in there, no matter what gender they are.
So the parking is based on 1 per 4.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Brad? All right, Brad, thank you for your presentation. I'm sure you'll be around to answer any questions that pop up. All right, so I will now open up to you, our constituents, and anyone who would like to speak first. Anyone like to speak to the council on this issue? Come on up, sir.
My name is Eric. I live at 2533 Marathon Ave in Neenah. I was asked by the neighborhood to submit a petition. Basically, it's got all the names of the people on the petition, unlike the first one you saw where they're a bunch of anonymous. We did have them printed out with the actual names. And then it has all the statements, basically what they were concerned about and that kind of stuff as well.
Thank you.
What I said to the last time when I was here or whatnot, kind of, I guess I can say to you guys as well. I was concerned about his...
Could you just pull that microphone just up a little bit? There you go. Thank you.
I, as well as some of the neighbors, were concerned about the valuation being over the last 5 years given the current housing market. taken valuations over the last 5 years. And I think he referred to it the last time as a quick and easy valuation. And I don't think most of us would prefer our houses valued quick and easy. Spend a little more time. The second concern was the entrance being onto Marathon in between county. I don't think you'd have as much fight back if there was an entrance onto G versus Marathon. The entrance right now would fall in between the park and all of our houses. Many of us have small children in that, and our concern was, one, with the size of it being 360 people and only 90 parking stalls, first, they're going to have to park a lot of cars on the street if they do have over that 90 capacity. Second was also with the, if you have 2 cars parked on the street, it doesn't leave much room to go through, people to bike, people to walk in the neighborhood, that kind of thing. And then also just our kids going to the park without like a parent or something like that, just walking on the sidewalk. We were a little worried about the fact that they have to walk through the parking lot itself. So yeah, that was just kind of most of the concerns. The majority of us also felt it was kind of weird because they said that the last time we were here, they based a lot of the stuff off of the current, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, their current attendance. And we figured, why are they building a bigger facility if they don't expect the attendance to increase? So that was a few of our concerns. And make you
All right, Eric. So just so I'm clear, so the council's clear, and we'll make sure everyone gets copies of these and everything. You've given us 3 documents. One is evidently an informational sheet that you must have given to the people.
Yeah, I didn't actually make the petition myself. The 2 people, the one who made the petition was unable to make it tonight,
Okay.
so I'm just presenting it. But yeah,
So all of them have got them through email already? Okay.
no, we passed them out.
Oh,
I passed them out
everyone has
today.
hard copies. Okay,
Yep.
thank you. Oh, except me. All right, that's fine. And then some comments, and then also the list of people.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep.
All right. Well, thank
And
you.
it's only been open since June 16th, and we're up to 150 already in multiple comments.
All right. Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else like to comment during the public? This is your opportunity to be heard. So. Joel, come on up. Esther, Joel, come on up.
Islamic Society. My name is Joel Schlachtenhelfen. The address is 1368 Wedgwood Lane in Neenah, of course. I am a retired Lutheran pastor and have been a Neenah resident for 25 years. I am one of thousands blessed by a friendship with our neighbors of the Fox Valley Islamic Society. I want to give a word of thanks to you for the opportunity to express gratitude for the presence and for the leadership of the FVIS in the Fox cities and, of course, in Neenah. The efforts of the FVIS to build positive relationships between people of faith have been many and they have been varied. These efforts include participating in the Interfaith Habitat Builds and hosting the annual Interfaith Gathering over the past 19 years. This is the Under the Tent event. It is a good and hopeful sign that the members of the FVIS are now moving to build a more permanent home in Neenah. So thank you for your support of the Fox Valley Islamic Society. So I have my note to give you and the notes of 2 other pastors, Pastor John Gallatin of Gloria Dei Lutheran and Catherine Mode.
All right. Give those to the clerk for the record. I leaned over and asked her, Pastor Joel, I said, how did you spell his last name? And she said, S period. So we'll get the rest later. So. Pastor Joel S. We'll get her later. So come on up.
My name is Jean Moss Pike. I live at 2116 Henry Street, apartment 11 in Neenah. And can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
You're doing great.
Okay. And my printer didn't work this afternoon and I couldn't get online here, so I just may sound disorganized right now. I just really admire the variety and diversity of Neenah, of religions, of races, of cultures, and I've benefited greatly from knowing several of the people from the temple, from the mosque. I do support them. I think the people who Joel had just told you that the people who are Muslims have contributed to our community very, very much. I've served on various committees with persons of that community. The people are peacemakers and very fine, generous persons. I have gained much from learning about their religion and our religion and how similar they are. And I know that they are peacemakers. The city has taken precautions for the traffic already, I think, with on Marathon Street, with the speed bumps, with the roundabouts, and has been very good the past year about putting more safety factors on school crossings and various crossings so that the lights shine that you're in a school zone or whatever. The children are here, drive carefully. And I really admire my friends and the diversity of my friends. And the families that we had living where I live were just great people. They were gracious, they were polite, they were quiet, and when you live in an apartment, that can be important. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming. Any other comments? Welcome. Come on up.
My name is Joe Phillip, and I live at 455 Hawthorne Street in Neenah. And I wanted to, first of all, say thank you for this, for your consideration for this. I am also a member of Fox Valley Islamic Society, and I appreciate the care and consideration that you are putting into this review. As a person who has lived in this community for about 20 years now, as a person who has benefited from all of the wonderful things in the city of Neenah, as a person who has raised 2 children here, I can say that I really, really appreciate the efforts that the city puts into making sure that our neighborhoods remain safe, that we have good infrastructure that we can rely on and expect a really high quality of life here in Neenah. We really benefit from that. I can also say that personally, I and my family have greatly, greatly benefited from being members of Fox Valley Islamic Society. This is a beautiful community of people as individuals and all together. It is an amazing community of people who have been born in this country. Some of us are 5th generation, 6th generation American. Some of us are new immigrants, and we're everything in between. We come from all over the world to make a home here, and we commit to making Neenah an excellent and beautiful place to live. Some of our members are your doctors, some are your engineers, some are your lawyers, some have shops, some are teachers, some are stay-home moms. But we're all really committed to making this a beautiful place, and we appreciate the effort that our representatives in local government put into helping us keep Neenah wonderful. And so thank you.
Thank you for comments. Yeah, welcome.
My name is Kate Hancock Cook. I live at 216 Bosworth Court in Neenah, and I am a member of the Planning Commission and a member of the Park and Rec Commission. And I just wanted to make 2 points. One, the presentation that Brad, I don't, whatever his title is, Brad gave on this was remarkably thorough, and I want to note that this is typical of the work that Brad does and presents to the Planning Commission. But this was an extremely thorough piece of work and very, very a lot of homework was put into this. So we have trusted the planning department to give us the right information on all the other buildings that we approve, and I think that we've got very good information, solid information here. And if you're interested in what happened at the Planning Commission a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was a week ago, it was a very large meeting. The planning commissioners, we were like, whoa, I've never seen this many people at a planning commission meeting in my life. And honestly, there was a little bit of trepidation around that. But I have to say that if you go back and read the notes of that commission meeting, I was incredibly proud to be a citizen of Neenah that day. That the comments supportive to the Islamic Society were so overwhelming that it really made me feel good about living in Neenah, better than I feel already. So I was really proud of the people who came and spoke that day, and I think it reflects well on the city of Neenah. And that's all I had to say.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the council? Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Mohammed Rashid. I live at 1410 South Mid Park Drive, Appleton, but I am a lifelong member of Foxville Islamic Society, Neenah. Some of my comments will be a repeat from Planning Commission meeting, but for the benefit of councilmen and women, I am repeat that 40 years ago, when I built our existing facility, I attended the public hearing of Town of Neenah planning as well as the board. At that time, the religion of Islam was not as known. The neighbors are obviously very concerned. I compliment the neighbors today. These questions and comments were much more friendlier than it was then. The neighbors concerned, later on we were allowed to build the mosque. In 40 years, I don't recall one complaint from the neighbors. In fact, many of the neighbors became our good friends, almost all of them. And some of them took care of our property, watched over our property, and still our friends. I compliment the neighbors here. The questions that you have raised with regard to traffic, drainage, parking, all of them are legitimate questions. But as you live in this community, I have lived in Foxville for 40 years or plus. The city governments here, law enforcement, school system, all the services are excellent. That's because people like you and us are alert and raise those questions. I have high confidence the city administration has and will take care of any problems that may arise. But we are doing everything that we need to do in compliance with the rules and regulations in place today. And we promise to work with you if any personal concern you have, that we will address those. The other thing about the capacity of the facility, the question raised, as daily, as I said last time, 5, maximum 10 cars in the evening, and that's not every day either. And only on a special occasion during Ramadan and other special time that you expect 35, 40 cars. The size of this building, 360 and 90 parking stalls, is done as you would all do. Wisdom requires us that we are going through all the expenses. We are looking for the future or special events, building enough capacity. We don't have to redo that in the near future. But our attendance is not like this. And I also assure you that just because you have a new church building, people don't start coming to the church. Maybe good food does. If you have occasionally good food, they show up. But the building doesn't. So I would not be that concerned about it. Is attendance as we have right now, existing building, it will probably stay there for a long time. This building is big for the long-term growth, and hopefully in the meantime, we adjust to anything that comes of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm kind of in the restaurant business. If you have really good food, they come. If you have it free food, they even come more. Come on up. Welcome.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to comment. My name is Jerry Zabronsky. I live at 3521 North Rankin Street in Appleton, Wisconsin. Even though I live in Appleton, I feel I have standing to comment because I'm president of Moses Montefiore Synagogue, which is the only Jewish synagogue in Appleton, Fox Cities. And as such, Moses Montefiore Synagogue's core area includes Neenah, so we have members in Neenah. Also, as it turns out, I had 27 years with a major company that's on Marathon Street. I spent a lot of time at the South Office and other nearby offices, so I'm quite familiar with the immediate neighborhood in question, even though I haven't lived here. I'm told that the concerns raised relative to the location of the mosque have nothing to do with the specific religion or denomination in question, but it's around the land use, the parking, and the property values. So I want to address those. Because I'm told that the nature of the religion isn't an issue, I probably shouldn't have to remind everybody of probably our most important shared value between Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, which is the Golden Rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And what that means in this situation is assume that the church, and I'm going to use the word church as a placeholder for any house of worship, assume that the church in question is your church, your faith community. Maybe your father is a deacon there. Secondly, when I was in that neighborhood, I bike around town a lot. I noticed quite a few American flags, and we have one here, and we said the Pledge of Allegiance, and we ended it with liberty and justice for all. And to me, that's a reflection of what I call the Golden Rule. Now, in the neighborhood that I happen to live in the north side of Appleton, is very similar to the neighborhood where the proposed mosque is going. It's when we bought the house, it was right at the edge of where the development was. We have about 10 churches in our neighborhood. Most of them are larger than the proposed mosque, and 2 of them are mega churches. We also have a mosque and a synagogue in our neighborhood. I have never heard anybody raise a concern about property values relative to the mosque, the synagogue, or any of the churches. I have also never heard anybody raise a concern relative to traffic generated by the mosque, the synagogue, or any of the churches. And I hasten to mention some of these churches are at least 5 and probably 10 times as big as the proposed mosque. The only time I've seen significant traffic coming and going, frankly, were from the megachurches on Christmas and Easter. And I can't imagine anybody complaining about a bit of traffic on major occasions such as those. The only other comment I want to make is Moses Montefiore Synagogue is very similar in many ways to the Fox Valley Islamic Society in terms of size and how we're run. Just because there are 80 cars in the parking lot, and that would be an extreme case, it's not like a sporting event where everybody is trying to leave at the same time. What happens, in fact, is 95% of the time you have a relatively small service with a small percentage of the total membership coming. And even for a major holiday, people trickle in. We don't have money for staff, neither does Fox Valley Islamic Society. So some people come early to set up, some people come early to socialize, people trickle in, and when the event ends, they don't leave all at once. They trickle out gradually.
All right, thank you for your comments. Any other comments? Or questions? Come on up. Welcome.
Is this Judith? Oh, hi, I'm Wendy, and I live at 2522 Grassy Lane in Neenah. My concern about the traffic is the road. I'm going to be simple because I'm simple. 3 cars wide, and all the other churches that are in the valley have 4-car wide. You know, that's the traffic issue. So I don't know if this is the time and place to say, but could we possibly move the entrance onto G where it's more room there? Or is this the place to say that, to bring that up? Or it's not, or?
Well, you can ask that question, sure.
Okay,
And
'cause
we'll answer it when the public hearing's
That's
over.
the big concern that we have. Can we switch the driveway from Marathon to G?
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you.
Any other comments anyone like to make before I close the public hearing? Any comments? Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, seeing no one else, I'm going to close the public hearing on item number B. And we will move to, and we'll get to your questions. We're going to get through these public hearings first. This next one should not take very long either. Item number C is consider amending. Do you want to accept it? Yeah, probably a good time. Before we leave that public hearing, which I've closed, we were giving 3 documents, the petition. I would recommend that the council take action to accept that petition and put it on file so that there's official action that we took the petition from the folks. Is that okay?
I'll make a motion to accept the petition regarding Islamic mosque. Accept the information and have it available for our delivery.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to accept the petition document from the neighbors with regards to this proposed development. So, all in favor of the motion? Is there unanimous consent to accept the motion? Without objection, that's so ordered. Okay. So then we will move to item number C. Consider amending the official street map of the city of Neenah by changing the name of Peckham Street in the White Neck Plat, Oak Street Road in the Heller Plat, and Peckham Road in the Pheasant Run Plat to East Peckham Street. I will open that public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to talk on the rename of those Peckham streets and roads? Not going to say it again. And nobody's going to make me say it 3 times fast either. Anyone? Anyone here who would like to talk on that public hearing of changing those streets? Anyone? Anyone? Any comments? Okay. Supposed to ask 3 times, so that's why we do that. So I will close item number C's public hearing regarding the official street map of the city of Neenah with regards to Peckham Street and such. Item number 5, Committee of the Whole Plan Commission report pertaining to the public input session public hearings. Alderman Stevenson.
Based is made a motion to something I'm not. Maybe I should. Gotcha.
Instead of a voice motion, I press my
Gotcha.
button.
Okay, so would it be appropriate, given the makeup of the constituency out there, to modify our agenda to deal with Roman numeral 5B at this time? I'll make a motion to amend our agenda to deal with the Roman numeral 5B at this point.
Second.
Alderman Stevenson moves, seconded by Alderman Bates, to amend the agenda to take up item number 5B 1 at this time. Is that correct? Unanimous consent. Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, that's so ordered. So we are now on item number 5B 1, which is the Plan Commission meeting of June 11th, 2019. Giving that report will be Alderman Lang.
Thank you, Mayor. The minutes for this meeting can be found on the city's website. The Commission recommends Council approve a special use permit for a religious institution located at 2680 Marathon Avenue. subject to the following conditions. Any and all future additions, expansions, changes, additions, and other uses, or an expansion of the existing use must be approved through an amendment to the special use permit. If building permits are not obtained within 1 year, the special use permit shall be considered null and void, and all site plan review comments shall be addressed prior to the issuance of building permits, and I would so move. Yeah.
This is somewhat of a newer system we have here that we're still working with, so getting the hang of it. Alderman Lang made the motion, seconded by Alderman Bates.
Oh,
Okay,
you can have it.
all right. Alderman Lang and Bates made the motion. So we are on the motion as stated. Discussion. Yeah, I think, first of all, there were a few questions that were asked by the audience that I wrote down, at least. One was the 3-car wide versus 4-car wide. I assume our Director of Public Works, Jerry Kaiser, can tell you what a typical road is, what the width is, 41, 37, 33. But Jerry, can you give the audience the flavor for what Marathon is? How about Castle Oak, where the Latter-day Saints Church is,
Sure.
and such, with regards to roads?
Yeah, I believe that that individual asked 2 questions. One, I'll start with the easier one first. Access change to County Highway G. The Winnebago County Highway has a jurisdiction over County Highway G. They have a very rigid policy relative to driveway opening spacings on a road that has speed limits of 45 miles an hour. Spacing is 600 feet. Essentially, the distance from Marathon Avenue, 600 feet to the east, puts you somewhere in the pond. So we cannot get a driveway opening essentially through the park to that site and meet their spacing requirements. Now, relative to street width, Marathon Avenue is 37 feet from the back edge of curb to back edge of curb. Very common street width in the city. We have a number of streets around that are at that width, parking on both sides, and carry comfortably 4 to 5, 6 times the traffic that I would expect to see on that section of Marathon Avenue. Oak Street, Congress Street being a couple of them. It's a variety as far as Brad had shown a table of other religious institutions around the city. Just taking a quick look at the streets that they front on, it's quite a range. We've got some relatively wide ones, say out by the high school, but we also have some narrower ones. You know, the east drive or east parking lot at St. Gabriel empties onto one of 2 streets that's 37 feet wide. What else we got here? South Commercial, Our Savior's Lutheran on South Commercial. Their parking lots empty onto Meade Street and Lenox Street. Those are 37 feet wide. Jesus Christ Church of Latter-day Saints, that street is 41 feet wide. From a parking standpoint, we don't have any restrictions on any of those cases at those driveway openings. Is that sufficient, Mayor? Do you want any more?
So just to clarify and break this down in a simple, because I was out there, I walked the entire site. I looked visually between the pond and between the playground. There seems to be a lot of area that, without impacting the playground, possibility of a driveway out on the Highway G. But you're saying Winnebago County has jurisdiction of those driveways, and they do not allow driveways closer than 600 feet to an intersection.
Their access spacing requirement is 600 feet minimum.
So that wouldn't give you the footage necessary.
That's correct.
To have that driveway, because I've been asked that by quite a few people.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Just
Director Hayes.
One other point, Jerry. What's the pavement width of Coney Trunk Highway G in your best estimate?
Best estimate is 22, I would say, edge to edge.
22.
Possibly 24, but.
Okay. All right. And one of the other things, I don't know if this was asked, but, traffic. I did ask James, our traffic engineer, you may have noticed some traffic counters out there the last few days, just to try to get a feel for, because we haven't done it for a while. So we had 2 days, 2 or 3 days worth of traffic numbers. Did we get any information out of those yet, Jerry, or not?
Yeah, traffic engineer Merton sent the council an email. Well, maybe didn't send the council an email. I'm looking here. Sent an email out at the end of the day. The data from the tubes, we had a count from 2015 that was just north of Cavalry Lane. That count average weekday traffic, and this is really a Tuesday through Thursday, which is a standard counting period, 366 vehicles per day. The one that he just did, again, I wouldn't mind having another day on that yet, but average daily traffic of 449 vehicles per day. So 450. And again, the streets that I referenced that, Congress, Oak Street, that are the same width, no parking restrictions, they're carrying 1,800 to 2,800 vehicles per day. And they're well under their capacity.
Okay, thank you. And then one thing that wasn't brought up in the public hearing that I meant to ask Brad, with regards to lighting, I had a few people, it didn't come up today, but lighting is not part of this first proposal on site plan. Can you explain how that works so that people understand the lighting aspect?
Lighting in particular we are talking about is for parking lots. So there may be some wall packs on the building just for security like any other commercial property. But we typically in commercial or larger properties get concerned with the parking lot lighting because that's really what could affect surrounding properties. So with this request, there is no exterior parking lot lighting being proposed. As part of the site plan review comments, any addition of parking lot lighting would have to be approved by the city in this case. So as part of this proposal, they are not putting any parking lot lighting in.
But at this point, there is no all parking lot lights. There might be some lights on the building, chances are. Okay, all right. And there's no external speakers, correct? There's no external speakers with regards to this.
Yeah, that was asked at Plan Commission about the potential for outdoor speakers. That was addressed by the applicant, and they indicated that there are no outdoor speakers.
But yet, we do have a lot of churches that have not really outdoor speakers, but they have the bells ring certain times of the day. From St. Paul's, I know, and Peace Lutheran. So they have certain times that they ring their bells. So at this facility, at this point, we'll have no external speakers. Thank you. All right. Other questions or comments? I'm sorry, Alderman Bates.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 3 questions, and I'll start with the first one that was just talking about. If the lighting is on the building, is it still necessary to prevent light wash to go onto the neighbors?
The discussion I had with the architect, any exterior lighting just could be like the wall packs that you would typically see like above a door just for security lighting. I don't know if you want to talk on that at all.
I live next to the industrial park, and sometimes they would put something over a door, and we'd have to knock on and say, it's shooting out into our yards as opposed to down on.
The answer to your question is we wouldn't necessarily review that as part of any exterior lighting plans, but obviously if it is becoming an issue because of glare or anything like that, we can deal with that on a case-by-case basis.
Got it.
Give us your name so the clerk gets it.
William Aubrey, the architect. Exterior lighting in the building will have the cutoff on it. It will not shine outward from the building, any lighting. And if there are any future parking lot lights added, it's the same consideration is in place. We also have that significant setback from all the property lines, which will allow us to keep the light contained within the property. One thing that we didn't talk about is one of the neighbors asked us to keep as many trees to the north of the property that are there, and we plan on doing that. So that also will mitigate any light going to the north. So.
Thank you. My second question is, they are required to have a drainage plan, and you showed us the nice map. And does this mean that we work on it until the plan works? I live near there, and our area was known as a drainage field for the farmer. So all the water went to it. We have a lot of clay. It builds up. We have ducks in the spring. Now, I imagine these people already have water in their yards now, and we want to make sure that when something is built, that the plan is drawn out. Is there a review of it to make sure that it does flow the way it does, or it's supposed to?
Jerry, does your department review any final grading?
Brad mentioned earlier that drainage plan is required, and that is reviewed by our staff. Their engineers are responsible for setting grades, and then we more or less do an after-install review of the site to make sure that it lays out according to the drainage plan.
And I know we've had in my neighborhood, we had the problem that we had to go back and have a landowner recut his yard, dig into it just to make the water run the way it was supposed to. So that is something, if things change, we can go back and enforce that.
Quite honestly, from our staff standpoint, we run into fewer issues with larger commercial developed sites than we do with residential properties where residents inadvertently block off drainage from their neighbors.
So do we foresee that if these people are having problems now, that with a drainage plan, it will actually improve?
Well, I guess that presumes that there's a problem. The pond, as it was designed to incorporate the Castle Oak 2, Castle Oak 3, and Castle Oak 4, or portions thereof, was designed to, assuming that this was a developed site. This was incorporated into that design. Looking through the drainage report, there are some areas, actually Castle Oak 3, that drain elsewhere. They don't come into this pond. So, there's some minor tweaks done after that was put together. So from a pond and drainage standpoint, there really, I want to be careful. We have not had drainage problems reported to us other than an individual along Marathon Avenue that had a yard drain, a pipe, that was kind of creating a continuous problem and ultimately found that the pipe had been damaged at some point, most likely during the excavation of the basement. Once that got taken care of, we have not heard repeated issues up there. So from our staff perspective, we have not had other reports of drainage issues in this area.
All right. And then my last question is, this came up with people being concerned about what sort of outdoor storage they might have. If we see a need that there is tools or whatever that's just stored outside, that we see it as a something that needs to be worked on as, I don't know, eyesore or whatever. Is that something that in the future we can come back and work with them and require something that these things cannot be stored outside, or? Yeah, that's what it's.
Make it a condition of the permit.
All right. And so would that be at the motion right now?
Yeah.
If Jim could, while we're talking, think of how that would be best worded. Earn your dollar.
While he's doing that, then we'll ask for other questions. long as you're on the drainage thing, Barry, I'm told that the north end side of the property, there is a natural ditch or something that has been there for years. Is that correct?
Yeah, looks like probably a ditch that was in the farm field out there.
And then with regards to making sure the vegetation and that along Highway G is out so that that can drain to the lake or wherever, you made a contact to the county, or you're going to make a contact to the county to make sure that they have cleaned that out, so to speak? You know, I'll see backhoes on county roads where they're cleaning it out. Is that correct?
Yeah, as I mentioned, that Plan Commission, County G is scheduled in their 5-year plan for a resurfacing. We can certainly get in touch with them earlier than their scheduled year to take a look at the drainage. There are also 2 or 3 culverts between our pond and County Highway A. At least one of those they should take a good look at replacing.
Okay.
So there are things that can get cleaned up along the ditch.
But those are the county, those are things that we can work with the county, and you do that
That's
in your
correct.
normal day, business day.
Mm-hmm.
City Attorney Kydleski?
Yeah, I would just suggest in the third from the bottom line, that it ends with special use permit. You could add at that point, yard tools and equipment shall be stored inside or in a storage shed.
That an
Make an
amendment?
amendment? Yeah, we'll make that.
Alderman Bates makes that, moves to make that a motion to add that language. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second by Alderman Lundrum. There's a motion and a second to add the language that Attorney Godleski had just brought up. Is there any objection to that being added? Being none, that's so ordered. Okay, so that's now part of it. Alderman Kunz.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a clarification. Are you just looking for questions at this point or questions and comments?
Either is fine.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I feel compelled to make some comment, given the number of people that came out public at Plan Commission and today. I had been on the Plan Commission for over a decade. I think it's my first meeting. I'm no longer on the Plan Commission, so I missed a doozy. But what I take away from that time is the Plan Commission basically takes our ordinances and applies them and says, does this meet our ordinance? Our ordinances are made up of rules that we create, along with dovetailing those into state and federal laws, and ensure that we are doing what is legal and what can be defended. And oftentimes, I voted for things I didn't particularly like, but they met the ordinance. And I couldn't be prejudiced about this building because I didn't like it. And that's why we do have ordinances. So individuals can go, I don't like that, I don't like this, to allow things to happen. Otherwise, nothing happens. The city doesn't grow, nothing changes, because what people don't want is people don't want change. And I get it. If I lived a Marathon, I might be sitting in your seat right now going, what's going on? This is not what I planned. And that's a difficulty. And it happens every time that someone comes along and wants to do something other than a house, whether it be an apartment or a strip mall or a church or whatever it might be. It's change for existing neighborhood, and people don't like it. But the way we have things set up, it isn't about whether people like it or don't like it. It's whether it meets the ordinance and whether it's defendable through laws and through what we've set up. So we are consistent throughout. So we're not making things up as we go, depending on who changes on the council and what happens. There's a consistency, and people can do things in the city with some assurance that we aren't going to take a left turn and go, wait a second, now we're changing our mind and we're not allowing these things to happen. We have that consistency so people can plan. So this community can develop, not always the way that everyone wants it, but through our plans. We have a 20-year plan. We lay things out. There's a lot of planning that goes into how things happen. They can go a lot of different directions, but we have a basic plan laid out. We go through a lot of different things to make sure that we grow in a reasonable manner. And I say all that because at the end of the day, this meets our ordinances. They laid out a case and say, we don't see any issues within our ordinance. At that point, the decision becomes, I don't want to say easy, but pretty straightforward in that if I vote against it, I have to somehow, you get into a legal issue about whether that decision was based on prejudice or was based on what you've done in the past and your ordinances you set up. And it's pretty clear. And again, if we want to be a city that grows, we have to abide by our ordinances and move forward in that manner, even though some people aren't going to like it. Because if we didn't do things because people didn't like it, we wouldn't ever have another church, another apartment, another commercial property built in the city. People just don't, particularly new ones, people just don't like it if it's different than what they expect. And that's not to minimize what people are feeling when things change in your neighborhood. It's gut-wrenching because it's not what you were planning, not what you expect. I get that. I really do. I've heard people over and over talk about that, whether it be Pendleton Apartments or whatever else project we've done that wasn't favorable for that neighborhood. But those projects went through because they met our ordinances. They met what we set up. And everything I see right now says this meets our ordinances. So it's hard to do anything other than take the recommendation by the Planning Commission that's gone through all these things and move forward. That's not to say that you haven't been heard or that the fact that you don't like it isn't reasonable, because again, I might do the exact same thing, but there's overall set of rules that apply that we apply to ensure some consistency in the neighborhood. So I wanted to, sorry to go on long there, but I wanted to explain it because I think it's important. People have, this is a tough one, and I get it. I'll leave it at that.
All right, thank you for those comments. Questions or comments? Alderman Boyette.
Thank you, Mayor. I was looking through some of these comments with the paperwork we were given, and there seems to be, as well as the two meetings, quite a bit of concern for the safety of the children. And it's been brought to my attention that there is a unmarked current crosswalk there. So I would like to see that at minimum be brought to public service and safety and addressed. Getting it marked. Try to address,
Is there one in the middle of the street? I guess it was over there.
I believe what Alderman Boyette is referring to is at Cavalry. There are wheelchair ramps on the north side by the park.
So that's quite a ways north from the park.
No, it's actually right in the park area. Cavalry.
Never mind. I'm thinking Wallace.
And for their wheelchair ramps there are no pavement markings there.
Okay.
So
are you asking that that issue with regards to crosswalk be taken up by the Public Services Commission, the Public Service and Safety Committee at some time?
Yes. Because I feel that's a minimum addressing to the concern for the safety of the children.
And I had mentioned that in the Planning Commission hearing that, we've seen these traffic beacons throughout the city now, mostly on, the east-west streets of Bell Street, Winneconne, Main Street. The council and I have made a decision that we want to make sure we're providing a safe passage for these kids that are going across those streets. And so the city is committed to spending some dollars, your tax dollars, of putting these beacons that they press the button and the lights flash and everything to garner drivers' attention. So I think it's reasonable to look at that and add that. So you can ask for that. Need a second? The chairperson is nodding in agreement, so I think you have assurances of the chairperson of that committee that it'll be on a future agenda.
Thank you.
Okay? Other questions or comments? Council President Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. So we received a petition. Oh no, excuse me. Received information from the public. 144 people had signed up online to share with us their thoughts. The council has not seen the final version of that. All I saw, and so what I'll do is I want to confirm what we got. I received, when I sat down at my desk, something, kind of a fact sheet about a special use permit. I received a list of comments, and I received a list of 144 names of people that signed up online. Is that what we got? Yeah, I know. I'm just confirming it. Yeah, I'm confirming what we got. Okay. So the information. Okay. So earlier, I received an email from was you, Wendy, or who it was? Yeah. Wendy Lembeck. That also had some additional information that wasn't presented with the petition. And the information that the citizens who went online to review the request had much more detail about things like drainage and safety and let's make sure, huge safety. It's a huge. Current location of Castle Oak is a huge safety concern. Due to location, there's already an increased number of traffics, and then drainage. But what was submitted simply says, if you are concerned about the safety of children, traffic, and drainage issues in your neighborhood, please consider signing the petition. So the reason I went through this rather lengthy explanation of what we got is because the council has a responsibility to make sure we understand what we're being asked to react to. So we're being asked to react, I'm assuming, then not to what I first saw online, but rather a fact sheet, which is gives a lot of facts. But and given the presentation that I've seen tonight and that I read thoroughly through the minutes of the Plan Commission and the comments that I had printed off that I received as of Monday at 9:12, I'm not sure that the petition people that participate in the online data collection, because I have a hard time calling it a petition because while it is a petition, it's not a legally binding petition. So, I'm guessing or I'm hoping that the concerns that were detailed rather specifically in the initial thing I read and kind of summarized on this fact sheet, I'm hoping that they have been answered. And I'm hoping that staff has done, at least from my perspective, it has. I'm just wondering if those who signed on the petition are aware of the amount of detail and fact that County Highway G is 27 feet wide and one that's being proposed to have 2 feet. And that we're actually designing it to dump into a larger street, theoretically heading south. So I want those that participate in this online information to understand that my thought process in reading this is, my guess is we have answered or there is information available that answers the concerns. If there isn't, I'd like to understand that. What haven't we answered regarding safety, traffic, and drainage? And I have no authority to ask you that. Quite honestly, it's the mayor's meeting.
I was just going to say, no.
so you can, nobody raise their hand. So
I mean, if all right, Alderman Stevenson.
No, I'm. Yeah.
I was just going to say, if someone would like to, there was a couple of spokespeople, it seems, for the neighborhood in that. If someone would like to address that, we have in the past allowed short answers to that. So if you'd like to ask that, if you'd like to speak to Alderman Stevenson's question, I will allow it. Either one of the neighborhood representatives. I do believe Alderman Stevenson is right, Wendy. We probably the format for the petition wasn't given to us, right? It was online, so it probably should have been given in the packet of stuff that we received, because the stuff that you talk about, Todd, was laid out in the online petition and wasn't given to the council. But we could go online and read it. I did, but the fact sheet. Okay, so go ahead. We'll give you a couple minutes just to respond to that if you'd like.
As far as the petition, she knows more about the petition
Sure.
than I do, because she wasn't here.
So Alderman Stevenson's questions.
But as far as the one major question I think that everybody had was the placement of the park being in the driveway. We talked about like the concerns for the street and putting up beacons and that kind of stuff. The big concern was basically the kids crossing through the entrance to the church to get to the playground on the other side. I think that's probably the major concern that they haven't answered.
Okay.
Yep.
Anyone else? You've been itching to talk all night, I know, so come on up. I could tell. We'll give you a minute here to answer the question. Thank you. State your name, please. And an address.
Amber Adams, and I am at 2650 Grassy Lane. So my concern with the safety of my children, I have a 3 and a 7-year-old. When we walk to the park, we walk down Grassy. I'm on the corner Grassy, so we walk down Fort and then on Marathon, and I'm on the east side of Marathon, the same side that the church is going to be built on. And my concern, like others were saying, when you're walking down that side of the street, it's the driveway for the church, and then we're crossing the driveway to get to the park. My concern is their parking lot without having lights. If they're there later at the evenings, my kids don't go to bed early, unfortunately. So we can be at the park at 7 p.m. on a Friday night. And if the parking lot's not lit up, I know that they have lights on their vehicles, but my concern is my child doesn't always stay by me because he's 3 and a boy. So when he's 3-4 blocks ahead of me on the sidewalk, it's just an unintentional accident. That's my biggest fear, is cars coming and going. I'm not exactly sure what they have for their landscaping along Marathon, but that could also be a blind spot for the drivers and children. So I guess it's just when the children are walking in front of us to and from the park during the times that they're coming or going. I'm not sure how many times a day it's going to be, what times of days that they're going to be visiting their church. So we're absolutely for the church. It's just when our children are walking to and from the park, that the park is on the other side of the driveway, which is why we were asking for the driveway to maybe be on G to avoid that unintentional accident.
I understand. And those children are also passing a lot of driveways, residential driveways along the way, but not as much traffic. So, or the other alternative is to cross the street and walk on the west side at the roundabout, correct? Walk on the west side and go to the corner, Highway G, and then to the park, and then you avoid that area. I talked to some. Yep. Okay. I understand. Director Hayes.
I can just address a few of those, and the mayor mentioned it, right? The first of all, this driveway, the way it's designed with the parking lot, vehicles will come out nose first. That's a much safer situation than backing out of a driveway like you typically have with a residential street or residential driveway. Albeit certainly at certain times of day you'll have more volume out of this type of out of the mosque driveway. One thing to keep in mind, first of all, I want to correct something. I've heard people suggest that at one point in time the park and the mosque site were flip-flopped. That's never been the case, ever. I can tell you From my experience, I was here when we did the original plan. The mosque property, actually, they owned property, not this property to the further to the west and further north, in the middle of the development. This mosque was moved to make sure that we had an efficient development of the whole Castle Oak development. In fact, I think they were the first owner in the entire development. Before the first lot in any of the Castle Oak phases were built, the mosque was the first owner. The other thing to keep in mind is that this is not the end of Marathon Avenue. This park is not at the end of the development or at the end of the neighborhood. It's in the middle of the neighborhood. There is Marathon Avenue is planned to go further south of County Trunk Highway G. Part of the reason the park was located in this approximate area was to provide spacing so that all residential properties have a park within a reasonable distance. As you know, Southview Park is further to the north. This is approximately a mile south, maybe a little bit less. So it has a service area much further to the south than this. Your issue of driveway crossing is likely an issue for that development, obviously, if things were switched. And as was mentioned, the County Trunk Highway G issue with the county is, in addition to the county, I don't know that it would be advisable to put a driveway through a park, but that I would leave that to our Park and Rec Commission to chime in on. So that's just some of the history there that is a result of some of the history that I'm aware of relative to both the pond, the park, and the location of the mosque.
Thank you. And I just want to clarify, City of Neenah is not pushing through Marathon Crossing G at this time. There's no proposal. That's in the long-range plan.
There's an officially mapped street to extend it south of G. That's
There's an
correct.
officially mapped street, but we have officially mapped streets all over the community, and they may not happen for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So, but it is mapped to go straight through. But we have no plans in the 5-year plan here, at least, to do that at this time. Because I don't want people to go back and say, highway, Marathon's going through tomorrow. So it's not. But at some point, it probably is. Todd, you had the floor. I apologize.
I'm good. Thank you.
We let him ask you and try to answer your question.
Thank you.
Any other? Okay. So, further comments or questions? Right? Seeing no one else, there is a motion and a second on the floor. We did add the one amendment, Alderman Bates, but it is, so the motion is item number B1 with the addition and the other items that were added as conditions during the Plan Commission. All in favor will vote aye. All opposed will vote no using the roll call machine, please. That motion passes 9-0. All right. Thank you all for coming. The process will continue, and there will be, if something comes up in the meantime, community development, Brad or Chris will always take your phone call and try and answer your questions, or myself. Okay. We will just hesitate here for a minute to give people time
Can we
to
take a 5-minute?
leave. So we'll take a
Can we take a 5-minute break?
sure. Yeah, there's been a request to take a 5-minute break. Dennis. Huh? Dan, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We are going to go on recess for 5 minutes. Okay.
I see. In comparison.
Is it open? Okay.
We are back out of recess and back into session. We are going to now go on to let me look at here once. We're going to, before we take up the capital improvement, because I don't expect any, just going to take a minute. Item number C, consider amending the official street map. And that would be item number 2, 5. B2.
Yep.
Is that okay?
Do you want me to finish my report at this point?
Please. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. The Commission recommends Council adopt Resolution Number 2019-13, amending the name of Peckham Street, Oak Street Road, and Peckham Road located in White Neck Plat, Heller Plat, and Pheasant Run Plat, respectively, to East Peckham Street, and I would so move.
Second.
It's moved by Alderman Lang, seconded by Alderman Stevenson. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no, using the roll call machine, please. That motion passes 9-0. We have two ways to go here, Todd, maybe Council. We can go back to item, the capital improvement program. Is there anyone here who just would like to address the council under the public forum and not have to sit through the capital improvements? Okay.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to amend the agenda again to deal with the public forum at this time.
Second.
Okay. There's a motion and a second to amend the agenda to take up the public forum at this time. Is there any objection? Seeing none, that's so ordered. The public forum is now open. Come on up, Dwight. Welcome.
Dwight Kerr, 434 High Street, Neenah. Normally, I'm here tonight to ask for something. I would normally go through the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. I can't make that meeting due to prior commitments through the fall. As you know, I live on the corner of High and Northwest Water Street, which is a primary part of the trestle trail that goes through the residential neighborhood there. I've had a couple social media posts go viral regarding dog waste and garbage, and I'm here to ask what I would have asked for the Parks and Recreation Commission, knowing that their policy is with the Parks Department to not have waste containers in the parks. They would like the residents to take their garbage home. Many of the users of the Trestle Trail that go through our neighborhood are not residents of our area, nor are some of them residents of the city. So they do not know our policy of taking your garbage home. I'd like to ask to see if we could get two, a recycling and a refuse container. It'll be able to be picked up by our trucks on each end of Northwest Water Street, one by the park where it comes across from the downtown area, and one where it exits and goes on to the Menasha side of the. We have a lot of dog waste. As I hope you all have seen that post. It's citywide, but it does happen pretty extensively in our area with the usage that we get from the Trestle Trail. And on Mondays when our garbage is out, I actually see people that are walking the trail, open a garbage can and throw garbage in it. On Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they may carry it out. They may just drop it at the most convenient place. I think if we expect them to put it in there, they would do so. And we would have a lot less of that the residents in the area would have to pick up.
Okay.
That's all I've got.
Thank you. I'll have a comment when we close this, okay? Anyone else like to address the council in the public forum? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public forum and go to mayor council consideration of public forum issues. I met last week with Director Kading. We discussed this issue, the same issue. We are exploring putting a can, the garbage receptacle that's similar to the Doty Island, because we want the trucks to be able to pick it up. We're discussing that, or our regular garbage cans at the end of the landing when you walk off the bridge that goes over the river, but it's right at the end by the sidewalk so that the truck can pick it up. So we're having those discussions. Mike is considering it. We're trying to figure out what type of receptacle we can have there. But it's important that the trucks be able to pick it up versus having a guy do it. We've also discussed, and we're at a little bit of difference of opinion here, but I have Mike doing a query of all the communities around, if how many of them are using these doggy stations that I see a lot with the plastic bag and then a receptacle, because I see them. Town of Neenah has them. Village of Fox Crossing has them. Appleton uses them. But I asked Mike to just send out to his entire database of park directors and see how many are using them, what challenges they have with them, because we would like to explore that. We have also went in all our parks, just so everyone knows, our major parks, I think, Mike, the big containers, like Memorial, Riverside, some of the other ones, the real big, what are they called? Dumpsters. They have a hole in them. They have a hole in them with signage that says, deposit your dog stuff here. And so they did that also, because one was my wife who was telling me she'd go running with Beckett and do Memorial Park. So we've done that, but we're looking at that. And the garbage issue, Mike is also exploring for the end of the street there. Okay? But we'll let you know soon. That's all I have. Is there anyone else? Okay, we'll close the council and mayor consideration of issues. Then we will go back to item number 5A1 and 2. The committee of the whole meeting of June 3rd, 2019, Alderman Lang. Is that what we're
Should
doing?
be Alderman Stevenson.
I can do that.
Go ahead. Alderman Stevenson.
The the committee of the whole met and reviewed the entire 2019 to 2023 capital improvement plan and came up with a list of potential modifications and adjustments. At this time, I will make a motion to approve the 2019 to 2023 capital improvement program as presented by the mayor. Want me to do that by the machine?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve the 2019-2023 capital improvements program. Is there, I know we've been sent a list of potential amendments. I don't know if, Mike, did you need to go in any particular order or not?
I think previous protocol may have been to take up the items that were identified in the CIP workshop first, if that's okay with the council, and then
that's a good
anything
idea.
after that we can take it one at a time.
And before we, thank you. And before we start, I just do want to say, I mean, normally I would say a little something about the capital improvements program, but I'm not going to do that tonight. I had made my comments when I presented it. We also talked about it in the workshops. They're all there for everyone to read. I do just want to caution us that when we make any motions tonight, which I'm fine with, if it helps and improves the product, I do believe that we need to try and stay under that $10 million borrowing number. And Mike, someone wants to hear why again. Mike, give us that, but it's basically so that we, like, if we go over 10 million, we limit the number of potential bidders on, and we end up paying, a quarter, 35.40, whatever it may be more. I think it's enough to, as an incentive to stay below that number. So maybe, Mike, if we do make changes, we can have kind of a rolling tab here, and just keep that in mind. So if you are going to propose something that's going to take us over, you might want to think about a way to save some dollars somewhere else or replace some dollars. So that's all I'm asking. Okay, so Director Easker or Council President Stevenson. Council President Stevenson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a reminder to the mayor and to the council, we don't anticipate making any changes to 2019 previously approved budget that is included in this document. Given the fact that that was the agreement going into this because we've borrowed money already for 2019 and we've already started to expend dollars. So we're looking really at the out years starting in 2020. The 2020 budget will be resubmitted by the mayor in his 2020 operating budget and capital budget. So any changes here, the mayor does have the ability to remove, add, modify, adjust based on certain circumstances that may come into place after that. So just while we may make modifications to the document here, the mayor always has the right to modify that when he presents his 2020 operating and capital improvement plan. So with that, I will make the first amendment. I will move to amend the library rearrange technical services / processing and circular services volunteer workspaces by $20,000 in 2020, given the fact that those dollars are being expended in 2019. Want me to make a motion, Patty? That motion.
Motion by Alderman Stevenson, seconded by Alderman Lendrum. Any further discussion or questions? Just in the workshop, explanation was given. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Get the vote right. The machine. He said, "Say aye."
Oh no, go ahead. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Thank you.
This is easy.
No, that's okay. She had them all lined up. These I knew she had lined up. That motion passes 9-0. So that passes. Going the right way. Alderman Stevenson?
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to make a motion to amend and put verbiage into the budget regarding the Fresh Air Park project. I don't know that that's, I need to do that. I've shared my thoughts with the mayor regarding my desire to see some sort of cooperative deal there. So I'm not going to make a motion to go do that.
And I would just say that I've had discussions with county board people on the county board, a couple of members from up here, and telling them that they may receive a request from.
Okay, so I will make a move to amend the fire department budget to move $21,000 of funding for the 2019 Station 32 roof replacement to 2020, and to increase funding for the project by $39,000 in 2020, for a total project cost of $60,000 in 2020. That motion.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Stevenson, seconded by Alderman Lang. Questions? Comments? Seeing none, all in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no, using the roll call machine, please. That motion also passes 9-0.
That's it for me.
All right. Alderman Boyette?
Thank you. What I proposed in the workshop is different now. Similar, because I wanted to still try to move Isabella Street up. However, I'm not looking to do anything with Lakeshore. And to move Isabella up, I wanted to move back Henry, Bruce, and Collins. And using this wonderful tool that Dr. Kaiser gave us, it's also a great fresh start at getting the lead out quicker, because Isabella has 24 lead services. And I think if we move it up a year, we can get rid of some lead a year quicker. Other than the obvious that the road is in disarray. And
So is your motion to move funding for Isabella Street, Monroe to Sherry from 2022 to 2020 as follows? The streets would be $317,500. The sanitary sewer would be 180,000, the storm would be 150,000, and water would be 153,000 for a total expenditure of $800,500.
That's the first part.
Pardon?
Yeah, that's the first part.
And the total GO borrowing, because you got to take the water out, would be 647,000.
Right.
Okay.
And water wouldn't borrow because they don't.
Okay, good. So put the motion in, please.
Just want to make sure I have the years right on that.
And the total dollar. Good.
I'm just going off the sheet. Director Kaiser?
Yeah, Bruce, Henry, and Collins are currently in 2021. The request is to move Isabella from 2022 to 2021 and move Bruce, Henry, and Collins back to 2022.
So that's her actual, what she wants.
That's her request.
Director Easker?
That's what I also understood, that the motion, it's a little
Okay.
different than what
It's different
Alderman
than what
Boyette
I'm-
had suggested at the
than what
workshop.
I'm reading here.
Right.
So
So,
it's-
and we doesn't move any money to 2020, which was your concern with
Right.
regard to the amount of money we would plan to borrow next year. It would not.
It would not impact because it's going to be in 2021.
That is correct.
But could you just, so it's moving Isabella Street forward to 21 and taking Collins,
Henry.
Henry, and Bruce,
Yes.
those streets, and moving them to 2022?
Yes.
Okay. All right, there's a motion by Alderman Boyette. Is there a second? Seconded by Alderman Bates. Discussion. Alderman Boyette? Or Alderman Coons?
Thank you, Mayor. The amendments we've made and the amendments that I have sitting before me all are department requests, and so which is a good thing. So I look at Public Works and Water, and are you supportive of this work for your purposes? I just want to get department heads' concept on this.
From a public works standpoint, I'm supportive. The Bruce, Henry, and Collins group of streets, from my end, the need there has been driven by the condition of the water. So I would really look to Director Mock relative to the condition of his facilities in both of those streets.
Tony, come on up and just give your opinion, because these three streets are pretty much water-driven.
Thank you. I talked with Alderman Boyette a little bit earlier today and this past week regarding this. We are amenable to moving those three streets, Henry, Bruce, and Collins, out to 2022. They have had a few main breaks. However, they've been fairly stable the past couple of years. So we're amenable to moving that out, and we're also amenable to moving Isabella to 2021.
All right. Any other questions? Alderman Stevenson.
So, moving three. So, is the net effect for 2020 from a dollar perspective zero? That would be highly likely.
For 2020,
I'm having trouble trying to figure out where the money's
21.
Right. The projects are being moved from 21 and 22. 2020 is not impacted.
Okay, so they're moving from 22 to 21.
One is being moved back. And
Which
the other
one's moving
being-
from 2020? That is.
there's a
I apologize. I got this email at 3:00.
Okay. Yeah. Bruce, Henry, and Collins are moved from, or the proposal is to move them from 2021 to 2022.
Yeah, okay. And we're moving Isabella from 22 to 20.
That's correct.
Gotcha. All right.
Anyone else? And the only impact I think you guys know is I like to And if you're going to do it, go into a neighborhood, do the entire neighborhood. And in 2021, we have a major Marathon Avenue. So that's why I originally, grouped them. So we do Marathon, Collins, Bruce. So you don't impact the neighbors one year on Marathon and then impact them the next year on all the side streets. And I think there's got to be, and I'm not arguing against this, I'm just saying there's got to be also some efficiencies by the company that does it. They only have to stage there once. If they come back again, staging of any project, I think, can range 3 to 5% of the contract, right? So, I guess it's not a huge deal, but that's why I grouped those 3 streets, and the alderman just feels that Isabella is a higher need. So, okay.
If I may,
Alderman Boyette.
It's driven by the lead. We're trying to get the lead out. There's 24 potential replacements there. Both directors have agreed they don't foresee an issue with it. And thanks to Director Kaiser's fantastic tools here with his facts and his hard-earned money, he did due diligence for us on this. And I think, it speaks for itself.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anyone else? All in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no, using the roll call machine. That motion passes 9-0. And Alderman Boyette, you are not going to move forward with your Lakeshore, correct?
Correct.
All right. Those 2.
I did have 2 others, but do you want me to wait and do those?
Let me find them. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So there was some, I guess you want to call it like housekeeping issues that were brought to my attention by the water director. Page 110, item number 10, Henry Street, Bell to Stanley. I need to make a motion to move this item to 2021 because it coincides with construction on Bruce, Bell, Stanley, and Collins. I think it was a oversight. Right? Is this the one that was an oversight?
Yeah.
That's the one I did. I'm sorry. I'm reading twice. I'm sorry. I read the wrong one. Page 109, item number 6, Monroe Street, Van to West. Motion to include more Monroe Street, Harrison to Van. Excuse me.
That one brings.
Yep. Sorry.
So it was also brought up to me. Okay, you're going to make that motion?
Yes. So I make that motion to include Monroe Street on page 109, item number 6. Sorry.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. So that was brought to the attention of myself, Director Mock. If we are going to do that street, they would like to do it all, correct? That's $29,000? Just item number 6? From Ban Street to the west.
It's in for 2020 right now. Where are we moving it to?
We're not looking at moving that item. We are looking at adding a section on Monroe Street from Harrison to Van, which coincides with the Public Works project for 2020.
That item 7 below it? Okay. I'm looking at the memo and it says page 109, item 6, Monroe Street. Motion to include Monroe Street, Harrison, the Van. So how much dollars are we talking about?
The dollar figure in addition is an additional $48,000 for the project. And then the project total will then be $77,000 for Monroe Street, Harrison to West Terminus for water.
Where would the project start in?
It would start on the east side would be Harrison Street and then progress west to the slough.
We would not do the east side of Harrison Street? You're not?
No, we're not looking at doing the east side of Harrison Street, just the intersection of Harrison to the west.
Harrison, past Van Street to the west terminus.
Correct.
The number is 48?
An additional $48,000 for water.
Is that in an out year somewhere?
It is not. That, sorry, this thing is so low. That is to coincide with Public Works reconstruction and utilities of that section, which was added afterwards. And we also would like to add.
We have a street project in 2020. That makes sense.
Yeah, to clarify again, there's two items here that I think the water portion of those didn't get in the first draft of the CIP. So that's
Correct.
what we're just adding those in.
So
Yes,
this,
sir, thank you.
But it's an oversight. So we're adding $48,000 to the 2020.
To the
Capital
water
improvement.
portion only. Water, right.
Okay.
Which is not far away.
Okay.
Okay. Everybody understand? Alderman Bates?
Just so the rest of the dollars were already in there for the street and repaving it. So, thank you.
Vice Chair?
Where are those?
Yeah, well, except that the description on page 12 for Monroe Street has it starting at Van. I'm looking back at my early May email on this.
Goes in for 2000.
Roads in for 2020 at $60,000. What I'm showing in my email is the request of $95,000. And then on the sanitary sewer,
So instead of 60,000, that should be 95?
that should be 95, yes.
Does that? Okay.
And then on the sanitary sewer end, page 89, the description is correct. That sanitary sewer number, instead of 40,000, should be 88,000.
So because we just can't do the water, Alderman Boyette, your motion has to state, I'm guessing here, would be the street, Major Street, Monroe Street, item number 9, for $95,000. Item number, page 89, which is the sanitary sewer, item number 7 for $88,000. And the water for $48,000. Those three things would have to be correct, Mike?
Yes.
And how did this happen? Or
Well,
You mentioned
I'll
email.
give you the genesis of the extension. The original project was from Van Street to the Neenah Slough. The road is rated a 1. As our staff was evaluating the sanitary sewer work related to that, especially with Van Street being part of it, they saw an opportunity if we could extend this project to Harrison Street to eliminate a chunk of flow that goes through the Main Street lift station and instead can get it to flow by gravity to the treatment plant so we can take some of our flow away from that lift station.
Okay.
So that's where we started evaluating that.
Well, this has what was the water portion?
48.
sanitary sewer happened to be 48 as well, plus 48, right? Went from 40 to 88?
Yeah.
So what the water portion, we're adding 40 or 48?
48.
Adding 48 to water, 40 to sanitary, 48 to sanitary.
35 to streets.
That's correct.
This is that section, originally the section was from Van Street to the west, which there's only 2 homes, correct? 2 or 3?
Yeah, 3
There's
homes,
only
yeah.
2 or 3 homes. It runs into a dead end, but there is no road, so it's really, really bad.
Okay, so and this was identified, and Jerry evidently sent an email to the mayor, maybe, or something? Yeah, okay,
correct.
fine. I just want to make sure I understood
That's how
who had been communicated to and why we didn't see it.
That's how it came about.
Okay. So the motion that's on the table, made by Boyette and copied by Alderperson Lendrum, is adding $35,000 to streets, $48,000 to sanitary sewer, and $48,000 for
Correct.
And to clarify, that is in year
2020?
2020.
Yes.
Okay. That might get those numbers.
Yep.
All right. Is there any other comments or questions? Alderman Bates?
As Mike is looking at it, we still have a cushion there?
We do not. If it about the 10 million, this will put us over the 10 million for borrowing for non-water project.
Oh. So the mayor will have to do something when he submits his 2020 budget. How much over are we?
About 84,000.
We can find that, please.
Jeez.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that. That's my motion.
I take my comments back, okay?
We don't pay
I
salaries.
was going to
out of
say, easy, that's my motion.
Please.
Stay off your radios, gentlemen. All right. So there's a motion and a second. All in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no using the roll call machine. The motion passes 9-0. You have one other one?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Do I?
All right.
Trying to look through.
And we will move on to Alderman Coons.
Thank you, Mayor. I asked the Public Works to reevaluate a few road projects, and they suggested making 2 changes, and I would make this as a motion to amend. And that would be in 2022 to change Congress Street from a resurfacing project to a reconstruction project, adding $535,000, or going from $440,000 to $975,000, $535,000 increase. Same time, Doty Avenue, changing that from a resurfacing to reconstruction, going from $350,000 to $585,000, an increase of $235,000, or a total of $770,000 in 2022. At this point, I'm not offering a price reduction, and I'll explain why after a second. And I'd so move.
You may not get a second with
I may not.
I'll second it.
So, motion by Alderman Coons, seconded by Alderman Stevenson. Alderman Coons, you have the floor.
Thank you. The reason I didn't, there's 2 reasons I didn't add any cost reduction there. First of all, you look at 2022, it's well beyond the 10 million, and we're going to do some major changes or thoughts there. But this gets down what I think is the request from department head as the best possible action we should take. But the bigger reason I haven't is, and I've been emailing back and forth with Director Kaiser as I'm trying to convince him, I don't know how successful I am yet, about reevaluating how we do streets. And for me, it was a really eye-opener this time I looked at it. When I looked at of the 55 streets, we're resurfacing many of them, but only one are we just doing a pure resurfacing. it's a different kind of street and different kind of things, but most of the streets we dig into and we do the sanitary or water, and sometimes both, but usually not. And my concern is we have a model, at least there's a general model, at least in my mind, and in general, we try to look at age of a street. We build a street, we do all the new utilities, then we resurface it in 35 years with some maintenance, and then another 60 years we reconstruct it. You redo all the utilities and start afresh. Everything's 60 years old, we can know how old that is. Right now, we don't know how old our streets are. We don't know how old the streets are that we're redoing. We don't know if we're getting 40 years out of a street, 60 years out of a street. And the problem is because the street has all these different components. You got the surface, the base, the curb and gutter, and utilities. 3 utilities, at least 6, probably more than I can count, different aspects going on. And we're changing them at different times. So we'll do sanitary but not water because, I don't know, the water pipes are 35 years and we think, what the heck, we can get more time out of it. So but what happens then is we redo streets, and most of our streets are utility driven. They're driven because we're getting water breaks because we didn't replace the pipe, or we're getting sanitary breaks because we didn't replace it because it was cheaper at the time. And what we're doing is we're doing things what's the least expensive right now. And maybe it's the best plan, maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm not sure if anyone knows. And and all I'm asking for is either Public Works say, yeah, here's why this is great, and here's our complete strategy, thinking out 60 years. Or, as I've been trying to suggest, we get a consultant in and take a look at this. I always talk about the cost of not doing things. We know the cost of doing things. We know the cost of putting sanitary in or putting water in. What we don't know is the cost of not putting sanitary in now. What that's going to do. Are we going to have to dig that road up and replace the road earlier because we get breaks because it didn't last 60 years, however long we thought it would last? But we don't even have a concept of how long we want things to last because we're doing this kind of pick and replace kind of policy. And this is not a criticism of Public Works. I think they're trying to do everything they can. We want everyone to do more with less. And that's why I'm suggesting a consultant, whether they want to do it themselves or not. I'm not trying to add more to their task, but I do think it's important that we understand what I'm calculating is roughly a $500 million cost. If you look at replacing all our roads and all our utilities, it's a very expensive very expensive proposition. And so if we're going to spend tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe we want to have a better strategy or a very laid out strategy how we're going to do that. So we don't just replace water pipes when we think we need them. We have a plan for that. So we're not digging up our streets because the water main breaks. And so I don't offer a cost savings because I'm hoping what happens is we take a whole new look at how we do streets and we dig into it and we look at it from a 60-year lifespan or 75 years. I don't know, or maybe it's we do resurfacing every 25 years and we get 75 years. I don't know what the best strategy is there. It's very complicated. I don't pretend to know all the different aspects of it. All I know is it's really expensive and we don't know the basics about what we're getting out, the longevity we're getting out of the streets, how well we're coordinating our utilities, and how we're getting the best use out of all those things. We don't know those things, and to me, we need to. This is an extremely expensive proposition, and we need to understand all those details. I'm sorry to go in detail on that, and I didn't mean to jump on Director Kaiser, and I did email him back and forth. At least what I'm saying isn't surprising him. I didn't want to do that, and he might have different comments and different rationale for doing all this. I don't feel comfortable with what we're doing today. It's what a lot of municipalities are doing. It's nothing wrong we're doing. I just think we need to look at it in a different way. I'll leave it at that. And that's why I'm not offering cost savings things. I still think we need to get these things on paper as the best possible action we should take. But many things will have to happen by 2022. So that's my long-winded response.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Alderman Bates?
Once I would like to ask Director Kaiser his opinion on the validity of reconstruction versus resurfacing these streets.
I guess I'm not quite clear on the question. Alderman Coons and I have had some discussions relative to, as I said in the email that I sent to council, relative to the level of work that is done on some of the streets that are in the program. I had my staff take a look through the 5 years, and they identified these two streets specifically as all or portions of them were really more suited for reconstruction than resurfacing. So that's where the new estimates were developed for.
Okay. Alderman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. I applaud Alderperson Coons' passion for attempting to quantify our actual construction costs over the next 20 years. And I think we can accomplish the same thing by challenging our Public Works Department to proactively identify these streets. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this motion would take our 2022, and I realize it is what it is, but it takes it over $18 million. We're adding 770,000 to 17,369,000, so we topped the $18 million mark.
Including water.
Well, yeah, right. Yeah. So I applaud and I agree wholeheartedly with challenging our thinking to determine when and where we can expend more dollars to save dollars. But to put it out there, so I'm the vote again. I'm fully supportive of challenging Jerry for his 2021 budget to identify savings initiatives.
Okay. Alderman Coons.
Thank you, Mayor. And just quickly, I probably muddled two different issues together and made them both more confusing. Two things I was trying to bring up. One is, the reason I make this motion is because it's ultimately what Public Works thinks currently is the best plan. And so I'm more one of, let's get that down on paper, and we're going to have to deal with some major restructuring in 2022, but we at least should know what we're facing and not thinking that we're at 17 million when really they don't think that's the best plan. And so I'm just trying to get the best plan forward. So that's one. The whole idea of looking at roads and how we do is really almost separate but related issue. And that is, a bigger picture about how we approach our streets and how we want to go about doing them and having a strategy that I think I can defend, or any council person could defend it, as an understanding what we do and how we do it in very basic terms. So they're two separate issues. So I would hope this would move forward only because I don't want to spend more money in there, but it's the reality of what is being requested.
Okay. Anyone else? Motion and a second. Alderman Coons offered the motion. All in favor of Alderman Coons' motion will vote aye. All opposed will vote no, using the roll call machine, please. That motion fails. 3 ayes, 6 noes. Okay. Other amendments? Any other amendments? I went through my list here. Good?
This is everything.
As far as the ones we had on paper.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other amendments? All right. Alderman Coons?
Just no amendments. Just a quick comment, and that it simply is, again, all the motions we made or all the amendments we made really came from departments' requests, and I think that says something about the process that we've used, what the mayor has gone through to put this together. I think it's the right approach in that we're not trying to pull apart a budget from our seat, but trying to do that through the department heads and their knowledge and understanding. And I think it's a good process, and hopefully we continue on that one. And I think it states a lot of good things about the council, department heads, and the mayor, and how we all work together. And I appreciate that.
Thank you for those comments. I will just say this, that this was a challenge. This was a team effort between all the department heads, who I want the public to know, who's going to be watching this next week. You know, it's 9:30 at night. All our department heads, every one of our department heads, members of some commissions, our library board, library person is here, and some of the officers, and we have all our key people here who are here to answer your questions. They've been part of this from the beginning. When I came here, I told them to be bold. I said, be bold. Don't be scared to ask for things, because we could be a better community if we can find a way to do some of these innovative ideas that they have. Many of those items have price tags that are maybe not doable for a community of our size. But we do things, I've said this many times, we do things big around here. And, you know, we still have a lot of problems, and I seem to be getting more and more comments about Commercial Street, for instance. You know, just lately they've been coming up. But we are trying to do the best we have, staying in the fiscal constraints that I know you're interested in and I'm interested in. So I appreciate, you know, the council came to me. I've spoken with council presidents numerous times during this process. I appreciate the fact you folks gave me a little extra time on this one, because, you know, they're not getting any easier. And the price tags are not getting any smaller. And now that we have such a good economy, that's kind of going against us, because prices are rising. Contractors can't get the people to work, so they're raising their prices and all that. So we have many challenges ahead, but we have a whole lot of great opportunities ahead. So we'll get there. We'll continue to get there. All right, so there's a motion. Oh, I'm sorry, we're locked up. He's working on it. But there's a motion. I'll keep talking.
There's get out of it. I don't know what's
Okay, we got a little technical difficulty.
happened when Chris pressed his request.
I'll press it again. Maybe
Press
something
it
will happen.
again and see what happens.
Okay, well, we are at the point of where we are no additional amendments, as I see. I'm going to ask one more time if there's any other additional amendments. If there is none, there is a motion offered by Alderman Stevenson, seconded by Alderman Lendrum, as amended, to approve the 2019 to 2023 CIP, Capital Improvements Plan, as amended. All in favor will vote aye. All opposed will vote no, as the clerk calls your name. Roll call.
Alderman Boyette.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Lendrum.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Spellman.
Aye.
Steele.
Aye.
Coons.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
9-0, it carried.
The motion to pass 2019 to 2023 capital improvement plans passes by a motion of 9-0. Once again, thank you, and department heads and staff. Thanks for all your help on this. Thanks for being here tonight. Appreciate it. All right, we are going to move on the agenda then. Find out where we're at here now. Item number 8 is a consent agenda. Is there a motion on the consent
Move
agenda?
to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
There's a motion by Alderman Stevenson, seconded by Alderman Boyette, Lindrum, to approve the consent agenda. All in unanimous consent to approve the consent agenda? Is there any objection? That's so ordered. Item number B. All right, we got that. All the consent agendas approved. We move to item number 9, which is the report of standing committees and consideration thereof. Public Services and Safety Committee meeting of June 11, 2019. Chairman Bates.
Thank you, Mayor. The minutes can be found on the city website. Committee recommends council approve the purchase of replacement handguns and associated equipment from Keesler Police Supply Incorporated for a total purchase price of $37,582.22, with funding from the 2019 capital equipment budget, and I would so move.
Second.
And there's a motion by Alderman Bates, seconded by Alderman Lang, for the purchase of the replacement handguns and associated equipment from Keesler Police Supply Company. Any comments or questions? I do want to say I've had numerous discussions over the last few days with the police department to get a better understanding of this, because there were some aldermen with questions on this. This is, if you break this down per gun, holster, equipment, it comes very, very close to what we spent in 2008. 10 years ago, different supplier. That supplier does not handle 9mm or Glock. They do not handle the Glock brand anymore. We talked about ballistics because we used to, a long time ago, have 357s, and we went to 9mm, and we went to 40 cal, then we went going back to 9mm. They've explained to us that technology has changed in the 9mm, and the firepower, the accuracy, and that is what most departments are going to. And Lieutenant Kufel did a lot of research on this, on what guns to use, and that. So, kind of all the questions were answered, and he did a nice job. Okay. Anything to add, John, or anything? Good. Okay. There's a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Or no?
Aye.
Yeah. Is any opposed? That's so ordered.
Committee recommends council adopt ordinance 2019-14, amending Article 4, Division 3 of the Municipal Code relating to noise violations, and I would so move.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Gates, Unruh. Adopt ordinance 2019-14, amending Municipal Code relating to noise violations. Discussion. Alderman Bates.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to clarify, when we added the verbiage concerning power equipment that people would use in their homes or outside, trimmers and things like that, that would not preclude us from, if somebody is running their leaf blower 16 hours a day, every day, that we could get some sort of, would that go under a nuisance at that point?
That would constitute a.
Thank you.
Other questions? All right. All in favor of adopting? We're going to do a roll call on adopting ordinance number 2019-14.
Alderman Bates.
Aye.
Lang.
Aye.
Lendrum.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Spellman.
Aye.
Steele.
Aye.
Coons.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
And Boyette.
Aye.
That motion carries 9-0.
That motion 9-0 and is adopted.
Committee recommends council adopt ordinance 2019-15, applying beer garden and sidewalk cafe requirements to state licensed premises and providing for a temporary extension of licensed premises, including an adjustment to Section 4-107, Parent A, Parent 1, requiring notification of council within 48 hours or prior to an event for events that have been approved by the mayor, and changing Section 4-107, Parent D, to establish hours of operation Sunday through Thursday between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m., and any amplified sound, music, or speech between the hours of 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., and hours of operation Fridays and Saturdays between 8 a.m. and 10:30 p.m., and any amplified sound, music, or speech between the hours of 9 a.m. and 10 p.m., and I would so move.
Second. There's a motion by Alderman Bates, seconded by Alderman Stevenson. Discussion on this ordinance. Alderman Coons?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be voting for this, even though there's three items I'm opposed to in it. One being that we only allow this event to happen 3 times. One that we require a fence regardless of where this is. And the third, that we have the mayor do the emergency licenses when we do temporary liquor licenses. It happens by the city clerk along with input from chief of police. Those 3, I went to a committee meeting trying to see if I could gain some sympathy in making some changes, but that didn't happen. So I'm not going to try to make any amendments here. I just wanted to at least get on record that while I think ultimately it makes it better, it's better to have this than not have it, I would have liked to have seen other changes.
Alderman Boyette.
Thank you. I just wanted to have our city attorney address the fact with the times, because they are different than our ordinance. And so I want you to explain to the public what will be transpiring in that regard, what trumps what. Because they're different, the loudness and the times are different from that, amplified music and things. So I wanted you to try to explain that.
The regulations that apply specifically to the extension of premises would take priority over the general noise ordinance, and that's a rule of construction that when the council adopts an ordinance that's more specific in its regulation, those regulations would apply.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have a question? All right, because this is ordinance, we will. Are you think? Yep. 15. 2000-15. I think we might have the system backed up. Christopher, don't push your button.
Vote on it on this.
Bates and
Stevenson?
It was Bates. Yep. Okay, so the machine is back, I believe, working. So all in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no using the roll call machine. That motion passes 9-0.
The committee recommends council adopt ordinance 2019-16, amending code section 17-201, parent C, to correct a statutory reference, and I would so move.
Motion by Alderman Bates, seconded by Alderman Coons. Questions? Comments? Not all in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no using the roll call. The motion passes 9-0.
Committee recommends council adopt resolution number 2019 uh-oh, we got 2 16s on there.
One's an ordinance and one is a resolution.
One's a resolution. Oh, interesting. Adopt resolution number 2019-16, compliance maintenance annual report for sanitary sewer, and I would so move.
Motion by Alderman Bates,
Second.
seconded by Alderman Stevenson. Resolution number 29-16. Comments, questions? All in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no using the roll call machine. The motion passes 9-0.
Committee recommends council deny the new beverage operator license application for Jeffrey C. Garridin, and I would so move.
Sorry.
There's a motion by Alderman Bates.
It's supposed to be the other way around. I just
Seconded
pushed
by
my
Alderman
button too
Lundgren.
quick.
Okay, she'll make that correction. Good. Alderman Bates, seconded by Alderman Lundgren. Any discussion on this item? All in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no, using the roll call. That motion passes 9-0.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you for that report. Item number B is the Special Finance Personnel Committee meeting of June 10th. Chairperson Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. Reporting from the Special Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of June 10th, 2019. Item number 1, consideration of committee recommendation regarding resolution number 2019-18, authorizing the Community Development Authority of the City of Neenah to prepare and submit a grant application to the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation for a community development investment grant, and I so move.
Motion by Alderman Erickson.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Lang.
Just for the record, the special meeting was June 19th. It was
Oh, yeah, June 10th. That meeting was held tonight, so we
I'm
should
sorry.
change that to June 19th. That was a clerical technical. Okay. June 19th. That meeting was held tonight.
I'm sorry.
Alderman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to have the minutes show that that this is truly a revenue opportunity for the city as it relates to a couple of potential projects in our downtown TIF, and that this, by passage of the resolution, that the council hasn't endorsed any project or any other funds to be encumbered for that project.
All right, thank you. Alderman Bates.
And just to clarify, this is a recommendation to approve, correct?
Yes.
Anyone else? This is so that we can explore grants for a potential project. Good, okay. Alderman, all in favor of that motion, vote aye. All opposed, vote no, using the roll call machine. That motion passes 9-0.
Item number 2, consideration of committee recommendation regarding resolution number 2019-19, authorizing the Community Development Authority of the City of Neenah to prepare and submit a grant application to the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation for an idle sites redevelopment grant, and I so move.
Motion by Alderman Erickson, second by Alderman Stevenson. Comments, questions? Alderman Stevenson?
Just the same comment regarding a revenue source with no other dollars having been approved.
Okay. I think that's an important delineation because I want to make sure people know there's no project. This is so that we can go out and seek additional revenue in case there is a project. All in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no, using the roll call machine. That motion passes 9-0. On to item C, Chairperson Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. The regular Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of June 10th, 2019. Item number 1, the committee recommends council adopt amended resolution number 2019 10.1 for the 2019 Community Development Block Grant and authorization to enter into agreements for the activities subject to the approval of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and I so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Erickson, seconded by Alderman Coons. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no, using the roll call machine. The motion passes 9-0.
Item number 2, the committee recommends council adopt resolution number 2019-15, establishing a $10 per day fee for the temporary extension of licensed premises, contingent on the Common Council adopting ordinance 2019-15, and I so move.
Motion by Alderman Erickson, seconded by Alderman Lang. Any comments or questions on that?
Just for the record, the ordinance did pass earlier tonight.
Okay. All in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no, using the roll call machine. That motion passes 9-0.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Item number 10, special committees, liaison, special project committees. There was no report from the Plan Commission. The Board of Public Works, item number B, that they had a meeting which was held on June 11th, 2019. Vice Chairman Bates.
Thank you, Mayor. Information only item. Board approved pay request number 5 for the chemical storage and feed modifications project to August Winter and Sons Incorporated in the amount of $26,900. As a council action item, the board recommends council approve the final payment for contract 5-18, concrete pavement and sidewalk repair to Fisher Ullman Construction, 915 South Mid Park Drive, Appleton, in the amount of $45,334.63, and I would so move.
There's a motion by Alderman Bates.
Second.
Seconded by Alderman Stevenson. Approve final payment for contract 518. Alderman Coons.
Thank you, Mayor. In part, I had to see if I would break the system again. But I'm just curious, is this, for what time period is this for? Typically, we're doing sidewalk stuff till it snows almost, so help me.
Yeah, last year, weather threw us off a little bit, so we ended up carrying over some work that we had intended to do in 18, and they finished it up earlier this year.
So we still have additional sidewalk repair work we're still doing this year?
Yes, we have a contract going right now for 2019.
Thank you.
Question, no? Anyone else? All in favor, vote aye. All opposed, vote no. Using the roll call machine, please. That motion passes 9-0.
And that concludes the report.
Thank you very much. CDA, Community Development Authority, any report, Director Hayes?
Mayor, I have nothing to report this evening.
Item D is a library board. Report from the library board, Alderperson Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. The Neenah Public Library Board met today at 4 o'clock, and I am pleased to report that the youth summer program is off to a great start. There are a lot of kids that are participating, and I'd also like to mention that the library is one of the sites for free lunches, and that program is going very well. This past week, I understand that the fire department was there handing out free lunches, and that was very well received. And that concludes my report.
You go in the library, they have so much going on for kids every single day. It's just incredible. So if you're looking for something for your kids to do while they're on summer vacation, check out the library website. I was amazed at how much stuff there's going on there. Item number E, Neenah Arts Council, Alderperson Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor. The Neenah Arts Council met on June 12th. A couple items to report out. We have partnered with the Bergstrom Mahler Museum of Glass Arts Festival, and we will be holding our free community plein air event on Sunday, July 21st at the Arts Festival. And then we have rescheduled the Neenah Rocks music event to October 3rd. We originally had it scheduled for September 26th, but then realized that there was a Packer game on that Thursday night, and we thought it would be best not to take on the Packers and the Eagles on that night. So look forward to more information coming out on that, but that has been rescheduled to October 3rd. And that concludes my report.
We could ask the Packers to move their date.
We're thinking about that, but we decided not to.
All right, thank you very much. There are no other petitions. We accepted the earlier one. Anything with council directives tonight? Unfinished business. We met as a staff today, and also Council President Stevenson and I, with regards to the June 24th and 25th committee meetings and the July 3rd council meeting. At this point, there is nothing that is going to require us to meet on July 3rd from a timing standpoint. So that's good. The two chairpersons and the staff, Jerry and Mike, they do have things on agendas for the Finance Committee on the 24th and the Public Service Safety Committee on the 25th. But none of their actions require us to meet on July 3rd. So that we can take them up on July 17th.
Okay.
So at this point, we're going to, unless an emergency would come up, where we would have to, have an emergency meeting, at this point, we will not be meeting on July 3rd. Okay? Alderman Bates?
Subcommittees will be meeting
Committees
and
will-
holding their stuff.
Committees will be meeting on the 24th and 25th. I don't think they're going to have very big agendas, but they are going to meet. Okay? And then under new business, Mayor Crawford's appointment to fill the expired term of Jane Lang, Jose Morales, and Dwayne Helwig on the Landmarks Commission will be coming up. And that'll be considered
Probably at the July 17th.
at the July 17th meeting. I am trying to also I've got a board of review appointment to fill and a board of loan assistants, the loan assistance board. Someone has any ideas? Those are two openings. And the board of review is going to be pretty important this year. They're going to meet like 3 or 4 days, probably in October, because of the citywide reevaluation. So if someone has a name in mind, that would be nice. But they do meet during the day, just so you know. Then we'll move on to announcements or questions. I know it's getting late. I would like to put a plug in Major League Fishing tournament that's coming to Winnebago County and Neenah in particular. They should start arriving Sunday. You're going to start seeing big time professional expensive boats in Neenah, fishing boats, because some of them will pre-fish in that, I believe. But they'll be staying at our hotels, going to our restaurants, things like that. The estimated economic impact for the valley is about over $400,000 for this. They'll be staging at Shattuck Junior High on the east side parking lot. Lawton Boulevard will be closed from Elm to Reed. That's where they'll be working on boats and that, repairs. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. Marge? Yeah, I talked to James. We're going to try and get some message board signs out there. They're both being used right now. We'll try to get some message board signs out there. And but that's going to be happening, and that's going to be pretty cool. So try and take advantage of that. Other than that, we won't meet as a council till past the 4th of July. So remember, Community Fest is coming up. There's opportunities to participate in the information booth. Historical Society has a nice booth up usually. And a lot of other things. I'm sure if you're looking for something to do, talk to Mike Kading and enjoy the fireworks and everything else that goes with it, starting with the lighted street parade on the 3rd, the night before. So those are the things that I have tonight. Alderman Coons?
Just a question about the reevaluation. When should people expect to get that little package in the mail that tells them what their new value is worth or new house is worth?
Probably late summer to early fall, so that we will have notices will go out to everyone that has a change. We'll have open book prior to that. Correct, Brad? Open book prior. Then notices go out, and obviously they have some time to come in and visit with our staff prior to the actual board of review.
Would September be kind of what we're shooting for?
Brad, address that and make sure we got the right dates.
Notices should go out sometime in August. We'll have a better idea of as we get to the end of summer. After that, we'll have an open book session where once they get their notices, they can come in and ask about how those property values were obtained, and then ultimately open board of review in October.
Okay, Christopher? Other announcements or anything else going on that people should know about? For our next meeting, Alderman Stevenson?
Thank you, Mayor. Just quickly, I just want to acknowledge the efforts of the Local 275 Firefighters Union. They once again pulled off their backdraft bike race on June 9th. And and you'll see that referencing Chief Clone's summary, but I just want to publicly give them kudos because it's all volunteer work that they do. They raised $8,000 to help send injured youth to a summer camp, and those folks work their butt off. So I just want to acknowledge that.
Great. If not, is there a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Lindrum, for adjournment. All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
My eyes want to.
Broadcasts of the City of Neenah Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin Fox Valley. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents via the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues or about these broadcasts by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or by completing the electronic feedback form on the city website, www.neenahgov.org. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.